Well, hello, Mark.
Hello, good morning.
Thanks for joining me in this cold weather.
Yeah.
And let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your childhood.
My childhood, it was slightly unusual. My mum and dad lived in a radical Christian community in a big old house in Sussex, where they all lived together and they produced their own food and did stuff like that and looked after homeless people and things like that. And then shortly after I was born, they moved into houses in the town in Worthing, and it was great. They had this sort of community fellowship thing going on. So I grew up in quite an unusual kind of intense environment like that. It's pretty good.
And was that sort of your first kind of influence that brought you to the work you're doing today?
Maybe. I suppose a lot of it was about my faith. Like I was brought up in quite an intense Christian environment, so I had a very strong sense of the presence of God, which is sort of. And then as a teenager, I sort of rebelled and rejected a lot of the sort of bourgeois crap of middle class life in Worthing, but I couldn't reject this sort of this experience I have of the divine. And then I came up to London. In 86, 87, when street homelessness was terrible. And it made a huge impact on me, just seeing so many people sleeping in cardboard boxes and stuff.
How did you, because obviously you have been working with homeless people for decades, so how did that journey start for you? Did you always know that's what you wanted to do?
No, not really. My first paid job in London after I'd graduated was in an office for British Telecom. And it was pretty dull, really. So I was doing some voluntary things as some sort of housing advice thing. And then I gave up the office job and did some more stuff helping homeless people and things. And then I went to Germany for a few years and volunteered, and then was paid in a homeless project in Hamburg. That was very interesting. I was this funny sort of English punk character in St. Pauli. And we had this drop-in centre with all like mostly heroin users and crazy people and stuff. And it was fine. I had a good time. I was there about 3 years. Had lots of adventures. Yeah. It was good fun. But when I came back to London, I got involved in a lot more focused homelessness work. And that was quite good. I was pleased to be part of that. And then in 90, I can't remember, whatever it was, when the Labour government got in, they put a lot of money into homelessness and a lot of research and more intelligent sort of interventions. And I was part of a whole sort of movement to really address street homelessness. And it was quite an exciting time to work in it. And it was good. We got the numbers right down. People don't need to be homeless at all. We cut the numbers of street homelessness so dramatically.
What would you say are some of the challenges that you faced?
If you're honest, actually, people often think people are hard to work with. But in my experience, the challenges have never really come from the clients. They might have really challenging behaviour. And I've worked with some really difficult people who are some people are quite really unpleasant, let's be honest, nightmare people. But that's kind of all right, as long as you're in a supportive team. For a year, I was running this Street Drinkers project, which was a wet centre where it was funded by the council just to get people off the street and stop causing a nuisance, really. So we'd have about 20 of these guys all coming into this building and drinking and fighting and pissing everywhere, and it was a nightmare, really. But they were very sad people, and we gave them a lot of care and tried to get them into detox and work with them. But that was quite violent, let's be honest. A bit of a nightmare. But when you've got a good team, that's all right. You can work with that, and it was all right. Yeah.
You have the support of each other, kind of.
Yeah.
And what would you say is something personally, professionally, that you're really proud of to have achieved?
Well, as I said before, I think when I was part in the 90s, that period when we were really focused on getting people off the street, we had a very high success rate, and we had a lot of resources.
Yeah.
We had good drug services, we had mental health teams that would, come in and help people, and it was really good. I was managing some outreach teams then, and we would go out and we would find people on the street and get them in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't leave them.
Yeah.
You know, they would come in. You know, we had accommodation. And it was very sort of satisfying, really. And, yeah, and over the years, the amount of people, you know, occasionally I meet people like on the bus or something, who go, oh, can they remember me?
Oh,
and
that's
it's
really
really,
nice.
that's really special, you know. People who've
To see
helped.
they've moved
Yeah,
on.
that's been really good.
Was there ever a time, you know, where you were like, I might need to do something else? Or, you know...
I don't know what else I could do. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, not especially really. I don't know. I'm still really interested in it. I mean, it is a privilege. All the different people's lives, you know. Yeah, it's nice to help people, but it's, and some, their lives are not going too well. But it's still quite interesting, really. Sorry, it sounds a bit like a parasite. But it's really interesting what's happened to people and, you know, the different stories. It's, you know, it keeps you going, really.
Yeah. Now you've been working with the Hackney Night Shelter for a few years. So how did that come about? Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Oh, yeah, well, I knew the night shelter for a long time because I live in Hackney and I'd been sort of around it when it was starting about 30 years ago. And I'd done some bits of fundraising for it and stuff, so I knew the project, and then I was doing some external supervision for it and stuff.
For someone who doesn't know about it, can you just sort of explain how it even works, the whole system, you know, like how you find the people that need help, how you work with like different councils or other, you know, like department teams. What's involved in your work?
Yeah, well, we're running a night shelter,
Yeah.
so it's not a hostel and it's not longer term accommodation. It's just emergency short term accommodation, and it's free. So we don't get any money from the benefits from the people who come in. We get all our referrals are coming from either outreach teams or advice services, so they refer people into us. And we specialise, because it's mostly run by volunteers, it's specialised in low support people, so we don't have a lot of challenging clients. So people who are working or recent refugees and stuff like that. So they're referred into us, and we just hold them while their caseworkers are looking for accommodation for them. So we work very closely with projects like Crisis and that, who will place people with us while they're working with them. And we offer them initially 28 nights to stay, but I don't want to ever put anyone back out on the street. So we usually extend it typically. So the average is about 40-something nights at the moment. And then about 80-90% of our guests do move on into longer term accommodation, which is great. It's a very straightforward project, actually.
If you could change anything about how the systems are run, what would you address first?
Well, the biggest fundamental problem is the housing crisis.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about the outreach teams or these services. If there's nothing at the end of it, you know, you almost don't need outreach workers if they haven't got anything to offer. When I did it 10, 15 years ago, we had stuff to offer people. But now, if you can't place someone into some accommodation, I mean, I don't know, you're taking a cup of tea. I mean, it's not really... So housing, we need more affordable housing. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I think fundamentally it's our whole attitude towards housing. You know, we've inherited this housing stock from previous generations in London, and most of it has been paid for several times over now. You know, we don't have to be paying these huge mortgages or this rent levels. It's all been bought and paid for, but it's just not shared out properly. The way it's organised, it's just rubbish.
Yeah.
So they're seen as assets rather than homes. And I get very angry about it, actually.
Yeah.
I'm furious, really. You know, like everyone needs a home.
Yeah.
And nobody needs two or more, do they? Everyone needs one home. Sorry, these little sound bites, but I'm furious with it. You know, it's absolutely disgusting. You know, why are there people sleeping on the street when there's empty buildings? Like, no. When we're one of the richest countries in the world, it's disgusting.
Agreed. Yeah,
so
I think most of us agree. I'm curious, Would you say that growing up in a faith-based household that influences your work?
Yes,
now?
yes, all the time, really.
Yeah.
I preach, but I mean, I do feel a very strong sense of the love of God in my life and want to share that with others. My life is a gift from God, and we should be enjoying it, and other people should enjoy their lives. And it's rubbish when people's lives are made smaller by situations. And
is there something that stuck with you? One of the jobs or projects you did specifically?
Many years ago, though, I was running Hackney, a cold weather shelter in Hackney for a winter in 1999 to 2000, and that was a wet project. So we had 50 beds, male, including people with histories of violence, and it was a wet shelter, so they were drinking and ongoing substance misuse.
Wow!
And I was relatively young then. And it was like crazy. It's like that was really intense. And we had a sort of communal area, and they would all just hang out there drinking and fighting, and it's like a sort of bear pit.
Yeah.
And our brief was like not to kick anyone out because there wasn't anywhere for them to go. A lot of them had been excluded from other places, so we were trying to hold them, and if we couldn't safely manage them, then we could put them out, but we kept them all in, and it was quite wild. That was there. Quite an experience. But when we did the room checks, because I had rooms, we'd do the room checks. You'd go around the rooms and they were always empty, really.
Yeah.
Because all the guys were downstairs, unless you found them in their room, and they'd be like sitting in their room, like crying, and like, and these were these guys who would be really aggressive and really unpleasant. But then when you find them on their own, they were so broken.
Yeah.
It just really, it was quite an emotional, intense time working with them. As I say, it was a privilege, really, to work with people like that, even if they were, a nightmare. But
and do you have
so sad.
Do you have something how you decompress for yourself, or are you quite good with mentally boxing that sort of in?
Well, come back to it. I think faith helps a lot. I've sort of quiet time in the morning. I do some praying and read a bit of the Bible, and I focus. That's quite good. Yeah.
And what's sort of next for you? Is there anything?
Oh, I'm tired. I want to retire. I've been doing this 40 years. Yeah. I was ill last year. I want to retire.
Have you got any nice plans for retirement?
No.
Just calm, peace and quiet.
Yeah. I want to go and live in the forest in Germany. Be quiet.
Why not?
Yeah, that's my dream, yeah.
If you could take this bench anywhere in the world, where would you take it?
Oh, Croatia. I like Croatia a lot. I go there as much as I can.
Nice. Anywhere specific?
Oh, probably the island of Korčula is pretty good.
Okay.
I go there every year.
If you could have anyone on this bench with you, who would that be?
Probably my dad. I really like my dad. He died 3 years ago yesterday. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. And last question, who would you dedicate this bench to? I know it's already got a plaque, but who would you put your plaque on?
Oh, I don't know. I have to think of something intelligent. I can't think of anything intelligent about that one.
That's okay.
No heroes.
No heroes. That's fine.
No more heroes anymore. Yeah.
I would say we'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Shall we do it? Shall we just head off? We'll walk in that direction. Can you still get up?
I'm stiff and cold.